Casper. We're looking to see if here's Casper right now. Here he is right now. Hello, are we broadcasting? It looks like the clock is ticking. Who's a Casper boy? What are you doing? Looks like the clock is ticking. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. Here we go. Come on, camera. Hello. Says we're running. Don't see it yet here. Let's go here. And then let's go here. Good morning, good morning. I still do not see any images loading here. Why is that? Up. Here we go. Hello. All righty. There we go. Now we have some ignition. Casper, here we go. Where are you? Come up one more time. Say hi to everybody. Good morning from wherever you are. We're on Facebook Live. Now I see you. Greeting from Boise. Greeting from Aloha from Hawaii. Ola from Palm Desert. And Idaho. From North Carolina. Good morning. Say hi, Casper. Casper saying hi. Good to see you. 8:30, here we go. We have made it. Took me a little while. From North Carolina, good morning. Say hi, Casper. Casper saying hi. All right. 8:30, here we go. We have made it. Took me a little while. From North Carolina, good morning. Say hi. Okay, we got two different things happening here. All right, good morning. Nice to see you all this morning. Here we go. We're glad to see you. We're glad you're here. All right, let's everybody take a deep breath in. Why is that? Oh. Here we go. Everybody take a deep breath in. Here we go. Let that breath rise up into your heart center. And then allow the body to relax. And we're just going to spend these 20 minutes together in this time that we call Coffee with Casper. You already saw Casper. Here's the coffee. And Mountain is over here to the other side. They're always glad to be with you. We're glad to see you here this morning. It's a beautiful day in Southern California. We're glad you're doing well in all the different parts of the world that you're in. Trust that you're feeling better about things. We're beginning to get some movement in consciousness, which is being reflected in the world, and that's a good thing. This is, as they often say, this is not a good time not to be vigilant, because we're in a transition. We're in this place where we're moving through from the old and into the new, and the new will be different, but it will be healthy and it will be more loving. It will be more centered around unity consciousness, which is the missing piece in the human condition at the moment in terms of the outward world. So here's what I wanted to be able to share with us today, talk about today. This is the premise from which everything else is happening. And it's also the big shift that's happening in the world. And that is that we are right now, you and I are right now already 100% spiritual beings. And what we have done, quite by accident, is we have lived from the furthest extreme, the outest, what would be the right way to say it, at the least significant part of what creation is all about, right? We have lived from effect, the results of the weather, the results of mindsets, the results of less than unity consciousness happening in the world. Now, as you and I know, there's only one energy. Energy and matter are equal and interchangeable. And the part that humanity doesn't understand at the moment, is this little thing called entropy, which is we lose a little bit of energy in the transfer. As energy is changing form, it appears that we lose a little bit of energy. And that's called entropy. But we don't really know where that goes, but it's a closed system. It doesn't go anywhere. So we're learning. Humanity is learning The mind of humans is learning. The mind of humankind is expanding. But we already have the essence of the science. The essence of the science is that we live in a vibratory universe. This all comes from an understanding of quantum mechanics. And wherever you are in the journey of grasping that's not that important. Except that what it's pointing to, and so we'll go to the end line. We've talked about this many times here on Coffee with Casper. Oh, by the way, this Olaf from Eureka, California. By the way, this is the 45th episode of Coffee with Casper. So we're glad many of you have been here along the way. And the one thing that we ask you to do with Coffee with Casper is share it. Share it on LinkedIn, share it on Facebook, share it on YouTube, share the links, share what you understand. Just share it as an act of helpfulness in the world, because as humanity is waking up, each individual soul is getting the presence. They're getting the voice of what used to be called the still small voice. We are now translating that as the I am presence, this eternal soul nature of ourselves. So here, let me talk about where I wanted to go with this. I'm gonna just draw on this piece of paper, not really a great pen, but you'll see the idea. I'm just going to draw a dot, so big dot. All right, so in the middle of the paper is a dot. Then I'm going to draw circles around the dot, and I'm going to draw several circles, and it makes it sort of look like a target. Is that making sense? It looks like a target. Now, so what that is that dot is the beginning point, the starting point of all creation. I'm 100% a spiritual being. So I need to translate from going from physical laws, going from appearance, from that which is manifest, to working my way on the inside of my own awareness, and noting that that inside of my awareness is the starting point of everything that's being created in my life. Everything is always moving. We know that. Everything is always changing. But there is a place in our growth and development where it will change from what appears to be the random winds or the waves of circumstance hitting us and our having to adjust to it, to our being able to see what's occurring in our lives is a manifestation of what's been happening in my inner awareness. And what that word that we use for inner awareness is consciousness. What's been happening in my consciousness. So what we see then is that the creative process is starting from the center, and then it's resonating out. And it's going from one layer to the next layer to the next layer. And the furthest layer out in the circle is our circumstance. And that is the one that is the least reliable from which to measure things, because circumstance is constantly changing. It's like we are interested as a sailor. I'm interested in what the swells are doing. Is there a 2-foot swell? Is there a 4-foot swell? Are there two swells? Is it moving from this way and that way? Not so interested in what the wind waves are doing, because the wind waves are on the surface and they're just splashing around. They're not going to determine either the safety of my voyage or the direction of my voyage, or even how I manage the helm, how I manage to steer as I'm on the voyage, right? It is not the surface waves, and that's the external weather. It is the internal motion and what's happening on the inside of my own awareness. So let me give you an example, a very classic one that we can all see in the world in this day. And that is, if I am angry at the world, if I am angry at circumstances, and then I move from anger to blame, and now I'm carrying anger and blame with me most all of the time, then what I'm going to be attracting, no matter what the wind waves are doing, maybe the Dalai Lama is walking through the wind waves and bringing peace and joy and compassion and connection, but we're so busy in the swells of our inner anger that even if the Dalai Lama walked in our experience, we wouldn't notice, because we're too busy attracting those inner waves of anger and upsetness and pissosity, being pissed off at things. And the more that's my inner resonance, the more I attract what looks like that. the more I attract what manifests as others who are anger and are carrying blame and then looking to blame someone else. And the more we put our attention on this outer circle, and again, I'm using that as a description, the outer circles of the weather, the more we're going to be moved around by those outer circles, as opposed to paying attention to what's happening in my awareness, what's happening in my consciousness, what's moving through me, and that inner buzz, for lack of a better term, that inner vibration that I am creating is really what's being attracted. So most of us, when we're in the midst of change, we're kind of waiting for, and of course those of us who came from the Judeo-Christian heritage, and here in the West many of us did, are still wondering, is the opportunity for bliss in life still coming? Do I have to pay more dues? Do I have to do more penance? Do I have to suffer more? And the answer to all of those small personal self-questions, which have been blinded by a veil of separation, instead of the recognition that my connection to all of life is constant. I am constantly, as Ernest Holmes, the great philosopher from the last century, said, we're always attracting or repelling something, right? Our vibration is always attracting or repelling something. The opportunity for us now is to shift away from that part of humanity that is looking at the waves and reacting to the waves and constantly adjusting to the weather, instead of looking to what are the patterns underneath it that's creating the weather, that's bringing forth the circumstances in my life, right? And we say, well, how do I begin to vibrate or create the resonance that I would like in my life? And the answer is, we have to start paying attention. We have to start paying attention to what's happening in our own inner awareness. Are we in fear? Are we in doubt? Are we in worry? Are we fretting about variations of the virus? Or are we knowing that I've made it this far? Divine light is with me so far. Divine light, and so long as I cooperate with my own understandings of how I should behave in the world, I will stay safe. And then as the mind of humanity is catching up and the physicality of humanity is catching up, and we're learning how to inoculate against the virus, how to create systems that allow this virus to return. Once we get to critical mass in the human condition, the virus will return to the nothingness from which it came. And we will have been changed because we have learned how to begin to cultivate on the inside with my thoughts, my feelings, my words, and my actions, how to cultivate a harmony that creates the vibration that's coming from me as a vibration of unity, as a vibration of compassion, as a vibration of inclusiveness, because this change that's happening is about understanding that as has been stated for hundreds of years in the human condition, regardless of the source, all people are created equal. Divinity itself, the laws of mathematics, require equality. You can't have math work one way in one continent and another way in another continent, or math work one way for one culture and a different way for another culture. Math, which is the outpicturing of the intelligence of the divine, must be equal. It must work the same everywhere. Principles, laws, and sciences must work the same everywhere. And so once we begin to realize that there's a great equality in the world, that everyone has been given the capacity to co-create with the divine in the direction that the divine is moving. And here is the direction. It's very complicated. This is very complicated. So you might want to take a breath and just relax into this complicated thing, because here is the direction in which life is moving. Merrily, 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 gently down the stream. The flow of life is flowing gently. It happens to be toward a higher evolution. But that old song, that pretty little row, row, row your boat song, is telling us the direction in which the flow of life is going, gently and merrily flowing in the direction of natural law. Merrily flowing in the direction of natural law. Wouldn't you like to align yourself and merrily flow with the direction of natural law? And when we're working that way, then the only force that we really need is the opportunity to control the rudder. Which way? The forces are already moving merrily, and we want to make sure that we're not banging on the edges or crashing on the rocks or floating mindlessly or worse, paddling upstream, right? We need to make a decision and then follow through with our practices to flow in the direction of life, which is flowing in the direction of more and more freedom, more and more love, more and more joy, more and more harmony, more and more music, more and more peace, more and more you get it. Those eternal verities, those things that are around forever, are expanding, and our willingness to share in them and to recognize that each and all can change their attitude of mind. That's the famous line, right? The greatest discovery of this or any generation is that human beings can affect their physical experience by altering their attitudes of mind, right? William James, the great American psychologist, reminds us of that. It's so profound that the discovery is that according to the way that I change my consciousness, right, becomes the way that my life moves. Now, what we are recommending here on Coffee with Casper, and here as the recognition that we are 100% spiritual beings, let me move up, not to deny physical laws, but rather let me move up to include the highest laws, which are the spiritual laws. The spiritual laws transcend and move through the physical laws, and that's what the operation of a miracle is. It's simply the movement of a higher transcendent authority working through the other laws, creating what looks like a miracle. So what we're wanting then is to work on our consciousness on a daily basis. This is the day the Lord has made, and the Lord being the law of life, and I make a decision to be rejoiced and glad in it, knowing that this is the day that I can adjust my consciousness. This is the day that I can align with the I am that I am, which is all love, all joy, all wisdom, all freedom, all poise, all peace, all balance, all harmony, right? I can align with that which is bringing forth the all good and seek to be an avenue through which the all good is being made manifest. That we call forth the lovely English garden in the sun. That all the variations of life, all the different life forms, all the different colors and ways of being, that they're all in the garden together, and we can become part of the observer, which affects the experiment, that looks at the garden and labels it as good and very good. And the more we appreciate the beauty of the garden, the more we honor being in the garden, the more we breathe in the life force of the beautiful garden and see it as that. Letting go of our fears, letting go of our doubts, letting go of our angers, letting go of our upsetness and disappointments, and simply choosing in to the omnipresent beauty, the omnipresent love, the omnipresent restoration of body, which is now strengthening my immune system and strengthening my capacity to be creative and joyful in life, and to tune in to this part of us, what Gene Houston called the entelechy, that which is known in the beginning, which draws us toward the end. And what's known in the beginning in the mind of God is that you are the magnificence of the One. You are the place where the living magnificence of the One is involved in its creative process in becoming more aware of itself as you and me. The more we become aware of ourselves as one with the One, the more we begin to walk in tune with that one, with the one, as we have been given the advice and counsel. Daily we meditate to breathe in life, and then we use our conscious mind to give that life force specific direction. We want to give it specific direction in health, in wealth, in love, and well-being, yes? So this is our opportunity now to begin to just shift our awareness. I'm 100% a spiritual being. If I'm a spiritual being, then the physical laws matter and I can cooperate with them, but the spiritual laws are the ones I need to attune myself with. And the spiritual law says to me every day, you have a blank slate with which to draw into your life and to create through your thoughts, words, feelings, and deeds, to create more and more good. And something will happen in there where your consciousness will move, you will be transformed, and with very little effort, because you have gotten to the critical mass, you have shifted your awareness to more than 51% of the affirmative. You got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between. The clearer I get, when I get to critical mass in my own consciousness, then more and more love comes to me. More and more joy comes to me. More and more abundance comes to me. Greater and greater health comes to me. My capacity to be more creative comes to me. My willingness to know that I am, in fact, a beneficial presence comes to me. This is who you are. This is what we are together. We are the light workers in the world at a critical time, bringing our personal light to contribute to all the other light that the light workers are bringing, and bringing forth a transformation in the entire planet, and therefore all humans and the human conditions, eventually revealing a world that works for everyone. Who you are is something magnificent. I'm glad you're with us today. Share this message with everyone you know. Join me next week for the 46th episode of Coffee with Casper. And until we meet again, I invite you to go in the light, as the light, and with the light. May the long-time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide you on your way. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week on Coffee with Casper.